welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. And in today's weather forecast, we're going to be talking about more heat building across the west, but that will be building further east as we get closer to Father's Day weekend. We'll detail that for you, as well as storm chances between now and Father's Day weekend. We'll also look ahead to the tropical weather outlook as well to show you if we have anything of interest as we go through the next 7 to 10 days. So if you are new here to the channel here, make sure to subscribe to the channel down below as we do daily weather forecast videos covering southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics on this channel. Make sure to give it a like down below by giving it a thumbs up. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. We'll get to those after the video. So let's look here at the weather pattern. We have a trough across the Great Lakes here. This is generally bringing some refreshing air across parts of the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, into southeastern Canada, the Ohio Valley, and the Northeast here today. Look at the ridge out west, though. Look how widespread it is across the western U.S. in the orange. That is bringing our extreme heat out west and across the southern portion of the United States today, and that continues as we go into tomorrow on Friday, June the 7th as well. So here are the widespread heat headlines that we are seeing across California, Nevada, Utah, down here in Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. In the orange, those are heat advisories, and in the pinks, those are excessive heat warnings. And you know it's hot when Phoenix is under an excessive heat warning because naturally this time of year, Phoenix is already hot. So this just means that the heat is going to be more extreme than normal across these areas. So looking at the high temperatures this afternoon, look at all the triple digit readings across the southern and southwestern United States here, and even some 90s over here into the southeast coast. So it's still going to be hot all across the south here, from Florida, the Carolinas, all the way back through Texas, through the Four Corners region, into Nevada, and into portions of California. When you factor in what the air really feels like with the heat index here and those dew point temperatures into the 70s in Texas, will raise those heat index values over 105, possibly closing in on 110 across especially south central Texas and the Rio Grande Valley. So from San Antonio down to Brownsville, Victoria, Texas, some of those areas as we go through this afternoon. Then as we go into tomorrow, it's really much of the same. The heat builds maybe a little bit further to the north across the central plains, but other than that, still pretty hot as we go into Friday. Heat index values again still there, 105 to 110, especially there again in south central Texas. So let's look here at what this all means in the grand scheme of things. We need to be prepared for potential heat exhaustion, heat stroke here. Make sure if you do work outdoors to stay hydrated. Take frequent breaks in the shade or an air-conditioned room because these are the symptoms of heat exhaustion and also heat stroke here as well. So make sure to stay cool, stay hydrated, and stay informed on the heat as we go through the rest of the week. Now, yesterday was a surprisingly active day for severe weather. We had a lot of those marginal risks of severe weather, like 5 different ones across the eastern U.S., and a surprise tornado outbreak really across portions of Maryland yesterday. We had 23 tornado reports there into Maryland and then a couple there into Michigan yesterday. So that was a surprise to say the very least. And that's why we always say, even though you have a level 1 out of 5, a marginal risk, it still can produce severe weather. It's just a probability of severe weather, and the probability was in your favor yesterday in Maryland. So again, here we go. We got another marginal risk today from New York State down through New Jersey there, eastern Pennsylvania, and through Maryland, Delaware, all the way down into Virginia, the Carolinas. We have another one in eastern Florida, and then a slight risk down here into the eastern Texas Panhandle and western Oklahoma for a relatively larger area of some severe storm coverage as we go through the day today. So let's look at that this afternoon. We got a broken line of strong to severe storms across the same areas we saw got hit yesterday, from portions of New York State down through Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, all the way down through Virginia and the Carolinas, couple strong storms in eastern Florida. We're still waiting though on initiation in eastern portions of the Texas Panhandle and western Oklahoma this afternoon. Those storms will really start to grow in intensity and coverage as we get closer to dinner time, so early on this evening, 6, 7, 8 o'clock across the Amarillo area, just east of there toward Lawton, Oklahoma, toward portions of Elk City. So we'll keep a close eye on that. Then as we go into Friday, we have another slight risk across Nebraska and northwestern Kansas, with a marginal risk extending down the dry line all the way back into the Texas Panhandle and northeastern portions of New Mexico again, even into southwest Iowa, northwest Missouri, even having that marginal risk of severe weather as we go into Friday. Here we go, Friday afternoon. You can see storms isolated during the afternoon will start to become more robust, more widespread as we go into Friday evening. Maybe a little bit of a cluster of storms. We'll have to watch for what we call a mesoscale convective system, just a fancy term for a line of storms that'll move across the central and southern plains as we go into the evening hours as that low-level jet starts to organize those storms. Here's the rainfall amounts through Friday night. You can see the areas where we do see the rain across the northeast, up near the low pressure storm track, and especially into Quebec here, into portions of southeastern Canada. We could see a couple inches of rain there, even back into Ontario, and then into central and southern plains, really centered across Nebraska, east central Kansas, into western Missouri there, and some parts of Oklahoma. Could see up to a half inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch of rain through Friday night with those heavier thunderstorms. Then as we go into the weekend, Saturday, June 8th into Sunday, June 9th, we still have that trough that's over here in the eastern Great Lakes, southeastern Canada, and the northeast U.S., bringing more refreshing, cool air for the time being, and then that ridge out west will start to flex its muscles a little bit further east into the middle of the country. So what this means on the grand scheme of things with our temperature anomalies, we're going to remain cooler than normal, at least for early June standards across the Great Lakes, the northeast and southeastern Canada, but then warmer than normal for June standards out west across portions of the Intermountain West, the Rockies, and the West Coast. And that could extend down even into the Red River Valley down here in Oklahoma and Texas and the lower Mississippi Valley as well for the weekend. So starting off on your Saturday morning, already into the mid-70s down here from Kansas down into Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, into Louisiana, even southern portions of Missouri. That means it's going to be a hot day, folks. We start in the mid-70s. We're going to end in the middle and upper 90s, even triple digits here across the south as we go into Saturday afternoon. That's not even factoring in the heat index. Then as we go into Sunday morning here, we got some thunderstorms moving across, but we definitely have the potential to, again, start into the 70s, maybe near 80 degrees in a couple spots down near the Shreveport area, near Little Rock, near the Memphis region, starting off close to 80 degrees Sunday morning. And we're going to get well into the 80s, 90s, and triple digits again as we go into Sunday afternoon. The heat will just be relentless. Now let's look here at the jet stream orientation for the weekend, because this is going to be the highway for storms, if you will. Just to the south of this, we're going to be building a lot of instability here. So Saturday, we're going to start off the day pretty quiet, maybe a couple showers up here in areas to the north across the Midwest into the northern high plains. But we're going to be building up that instability, your CAPE, your convective available potential energy, essentially just thunderstorm fuel for Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, down here into Texas and Louisiana, those areas, over 2,000 joules per kilogram. And you could see a little bit of a cluster of showers and storms developing there in Kansas. That will move east-southeast along that highway we showed you with that jet stream as we go through Saturday night. Sunday, same thing, starting off quiet. We build up the instability, maybe just a little bit further south as those outflow boundaries from the previous day shifts that activity a little further south. And then there we go. We got a new cluster of storms moving a little bit further south into Oklahoma, the Texas Panhandle, into Arkansas, and maybe even parts of Louisiana, Mississippi as we go into Sunday night. Overall, that's the corridor we're looking at for the United States as a whole for rainfall, any meaningful rainfall and storm activity this weekend on the 8th and 9th of June. From the Front Range into eastern Colorado, all the way down into the central southern plains and the mid-south here. That's really the area we're watching for, that corridor of maybe a half inch to an inch of rain, especially if we see a couple of storm clusters moving over the same areas. Now as we go into next week, interesting change to the weather pattern here. So from Monday, June 10th through Friday, June 14th, we're going to see the heat start to build further east toward the Mississippi River. And that trough that we've been seeing here so far this week and now into the weekend is actually going to start to weaken and shift a lot further off to the east, allowing the heat to open its door further east for much more of the United States. So all the heat we've been seeing further out west will actually be marching east toward the Mississippi River Valley as we go into especially the middle and end of next week. So let's show you this here. Monday, not too shabby. We start the work week fine here. Very pleasant conditions across most of the U.S. Still pretty hot though across the south. Midweek comes along on Wednesday, June 12th. You can see the heat starts to build a little bit further north, but still pleasant with temperatures in the 80s. And then as we go into Friday, June 14th, this is next Friday, and we can see the 80s, mid-80s, all the way up into the Twin Cities region, Green Bay, all the way up here into Chicago, Detroit, into 90 potentially up there into the Des Moines area, and close to 90 there in Omaha and Lincoln, Nebraska. So you can see the heat starts to build further north as we go into later next work week on Friday, June 14th. Now let's look at precipitation trends through next week. So big, strong, high-pressure system across the upper Great Lakes there on Monday. Some areas of active weather back here in the Rockies and the plains, western plains, as we go into the early work week, Monday and especially Tuesday. Wednesday and Thursday, we see that begin to move further east here on the leading edge of that heat as it builds to the north. And then as we go into Friday, we do have to watch a little bit of a trough up here. We got a 994 millibar low, pretty strong low pressure system for early June standards across the portions of North Dakota. May have some severe weather to contend with in the eastern Dakotas, western Minnesota by the time we get to next Friday on the 14th. And here's the rainfall amounts through next week. So from Monday, June 10th through Friday, June 14th, the heaviest of the rains obviously will be up here near the surface low pressure track into western Ontario, southern Manitoba, and up into North Dakota and Minnesota, but also a secondary area down here. Again, very same areas we've been seeing the rainfall lately. Kansas, Oklahoma, the Red River Valley there, into portions of the Ozarks and Missouri, into portions there of Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, western Tennessee. That's going to be that secondary corridor of some heavier rainfall. And a big pattern change right on time for Father's Day weekend here. So all the heat we've been seeing out west, right? You guys are tired of the heat. I get it. As we go into Father's Day weekend, that heat dome will shift further east. So the eastern 2/3 of the country is starting to bake in the heat by the time we get into Saturday, June 15th, and Father's Day itself on June 16th. And here comes a trough across southwestern Canada and the northwestern plains here. This is actually going to eject across the upper Midwest by Father's Day weekend. Before we talk about that though, look at the temperature anomalies. This is an ensemble guidance, and it's showing 14, 15 degrees on average above average temperatures across portions of the plains of the Mississippi Valley here, from the upper Midwest down into the mid-South, the deep South, even into the eastern U.S., and then much cooler temperatures. So areas like Montana and Idaho and the Cascades over here into Washington State, into Oregon, into northern Nevada, northern Utah, Wyoming even. A lot of these areas that have been hot of recent will start to cool down and have below normal temperatures for Father's Day weekend. We do have to watch this trough though. Look at how strong the belt is of the jet stream over that trough here and over top of that ridge, and we're going to be building up a lot of instability there Father's Day weekend, Saturday, June 15th, and Father's Day Sunday, June 16th. Look at all the reds, the purples, the whites there. That's 4,000, 5,000 joules per kilogram of instability up into the Midwest there, the Central Plains and the upper Midwest, and that could lead to what we call those mesoscale convective systems, and potentially even in rare instances some derechos that could potentially develop, starting that pattern as we get into Father's Day weekend. So that's the area of concern with high severe weather potential as we go into that Father's Day weekend time frame, the 15th, 16th there of June, from the Dakotas into Minnesota, parts of Wisconsin, into Iowa there, northeastern Missouri, and much of the state of Illinois there, into Michigan, into Indiana, western Ohio, and northern Kentucky, with the orange still a medium chance. And then you can't rule it out. It is summertime after all, a low potential in the yellow surrounding that across most of the United States. Let's check in at the tropics real quick. The National Hurricane Center's tropical weather outlook shows the next 7 days very quiet across the North Atlantic Ocean. And the same thing, very quiet over the next 7 days in the eastern Pacific Ocean. So far, the hurricane season is quiet, but that won't last, as this is definitely potentially going to be one of the most active hurricane seasons we have seen in quite some time. We'll keep you updated every single day on that. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Like the video, give it a thumbs up if you liked today's weather forecast. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Thursday out there.